It's very rare I do one of these performance comparisons where the Tesla is actually the more expensive car. Now this is a Scary Blue Metallic, and this is Ultra Red. Some just call this Bonnie Blue, but today I'm gonna do a comparison between both of these. Now the way this is spec'd is at $60,000, and the way that this is spec'd is about $57,000. But the starting price of this is $48,700. The starting price of the Model 3 Performance is $55,000. So there's a $6,000 delta between both of these. They both have all-wheel drive. They're both sedans. They seat 4, and they're both performance-oriented. And I know you're saying, oh, well, you should be comparing the RS3 to the Model 3 Performance, but these fall basically in the same price point, and that's why we're going to do our comparison today. So 328 horsepower. This shares the same engine and all of the upgrades that the current Golf R just underwent, and I just had the Golf R, and that was one of my favorite vehicles of all time. This is Tesla's new Highland platform. This has all-wheel drive and 510 horsepower, 553 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds, 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. Now, one of the big advantages of going with this over the Tesla, and I just drove a Tesla about 6,000 miles all over the United States, is the charging. So this is rated at 303 miles of range, and this has a 14.5 gallon gas tank, which getting 31 miles per gallon will get you about 450 miles of range. But here's the thing. When you're taking an electric car on a road trip, you're shaving off maybe 10% of the bottom of the battery and then the top 10%, because charging is very, very slow at the top end of the pack, especially even when you go beyond 80% state of charge. So really, realistically, what you could get with this on the road is maybe 260 miles of range or 280 miles of range, somewhere in that area. Now again, that's still 3 hours of driving, but this in 3 minutes can be filled up and right back on the road. So that's obviously a big advantage. But if you want power and you want ergonomics, this is so much better. Let me show you real quick. Obviously, there's a 4-cylinder in the front of the Audi, but if we pop the hood, as Hector said, we have storage up front here. So you have nice storage up front, that's all good. And then if we go to the rear of the vehicle, and the other thing I'll tell you real quick as we're going here, because this is an ADD review, this has 20-inch forged wheels. That has the upgraded 19-inch wheels. The 18-inch wheels that the S3 comes with as a base model, those are horrendous. But I could understand if you'd want those if you live in an area that gets winter weather. You could also just put all seasons on these, but the Bridgestones that this comes with are high-performance summer tires. Now back to my train of thought. So we have the trunk space here, and yes, it has a nice trunk, okay? So you have this nice spacious area back here, and if you lift this, there's even a ton more space of storage. So ergonomically, the Model 3 is significantly better than the S3. The other thing that I will show you is the seating position. So in the back of this Model 3, I'll sit here, okay, and I have plenty of room for my knees here. Your feet get a little cramped. That's pretty common in sedans. There's just not a lot of clearance here. But the other thing you need to think about is you have an 8-inch high-resolution touchscreen back here that while you're driving, your passengers can watch YouTube videos, they can watch Tesla tutorials, they can watch Hulu or Netflix, whatever they want to do, and you can connect a Bluetooth device so they can have the audio in their ears and you don't have to listen to the nonsense while you're trying to drive them from point A to point B. So let's go see what the seating position is like in the back of the S3 again. As a reminder, there we go, over to the S3. Trying to save everyone time. So here we are. I just had to send the cameraman that way. But here we are in the back of the S3, and you can just see my knees. Without this cutout that they did, you'd have some issues. You have a little bit more room where the ends of your feet go down here, okay? But then up here, I mean, it's tight. And I'm only 6 feet tall, so it's not like I'm super tall or anything. And this is a pretty cramped interior. The other thing we need to note is in the back here, you have this. Whoa. I don't know. Do you have the key? The key's in the car. Okay, so don't... Audi just got mad at me remotely. I spanked this. That was crazy. You have this tunnel here for the drivetrain to go to the rear of the car. So this cuts out even more space in the back. Now you do have your vents here, but there's nothing really high tech like an 8-inch infotainment screen that the Model 3 has. Now, what the Model 3 doesn't have is, look at these seats. I mean, this is part of the Prestige pack, and I mean, these are beautiful. You also have this right here if you have kids. I don't know how you're gonna fit a car seat in the back of this thing, but this is really a nice feature. If you're a parent, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, that is just extremely well done. So it also has a Sonos surround sound system, which is excellent. I will give them credit. The sound system in this is excellent. The Model 3 is just as good, if not better. So when you get in both of these cars, the S3, sorry, my brain shut off for a minute. The S3 is a little more luxurious. The materials are nice. Everywhere your eyes kind of touch, remember like Simba, everywhere your eyes touch, that's yours. Everywhere your eyes touch in this thing feels a little bit nicer, but when you look under the surface and the functionality, the Model 3 does offer a lot more. However, another thing that this S3, a $60,000 vehicle as spec'd, it does not come with cooled seats in any way. You cannot get cooled seats in this. A base Model 3 from Tesla at 38 grand comes with cooled seats. So that's kind of a problem. You do have a center armrest back here, cup holders, very standard, and that's all nice. So very nice seat materials, luxurious, really high quality screens, no cooled seats, and a lack of space in comparison to the Model 3. Now, one thing that the Audi absolutely kills it with is wireless Apple CarPlay. The Tesla does not come with it, and a lot of people love Apple CarPlay and refuse to get cars that don't have it. I understand that. So the Audi has it, the Tesla does not. The other thing I absolutely love about this S3 is the rear. This has the black optic package, which is $1,650. That includes these 19-inch multi-spoke S-design wheels, summer tires, the anthracite Audi rings, the black exterior trim and mirror housings, and the dark chrome exhaust tips. It also has the S Sport package, which is $1,100, and that gives you these red brake calipers and the S Sport suspension with damper control. And the fine Napa leather seats are $1,000, and the black roof is an extra $300. Now, since both of these are performance cars, you're gonna wanna know how they drive, so we're gonna take them out to the canyons. But whether you want an electric car or a gas car, the one thing everyone wants is their data to be secure, and that's why today's video sponsor is Delete Me.
Delete Me is a hands-free subscription service that will remove your personal information that's being sold online. Since I started using Delete Me 2 years ago, they have scanned thousands of listings with my information, like phone number and address, and removed it from 28 sites, saving me a ton of time and keeping my information private. Delete Me starts by having you fill out a profile of your name, common spellings, your phone number, address, or previous addresses you've lived at to find your information that data brokers are selling. These data brokers organize your data and then license it to sell to other data brokers or organizations who can profit from your data. Delete Me will generate your first report, and it can take a few days all the way up to a month to get your information removed from the internet. The best part is they keep removing your information every 3 months when it pops up on websites. Plus, as more data brokers' sites pop up, Delete Me will add them to their list and make sure your information is removed. I just received my 8th report showing where my information has been removed from and where they are working on getting it removed. So Delete Me is offering Gjeebs viewers 20% off Delete Me US consumer plans when you go to joindeleteme.com/Gjeebs20 and use promo code Gjeebs20 at checkout, and there's also a link for international plans. Delete Me, thank you for sponsoring this video.
Now, one thing people always talk about is 0 to 60 times. So the Audi, 4.4, Model 3, 2.9. But what does that look like? Well, with a little Hollywood magic, I'm going to illustrate that for you. So one thing that's important in performance cars are differentials, and a big addition to the Audi S3 this year is it shares the same rear diff as the Golf R, which is huge. So the Model 3 Performance essentially has a virtual rear diff. It has no mechanical differential in the rear. Instead, each rear wheel gets torque directly from the rear electric motors. So the software in the vehicle actively distributes to where it needs to go, where in the S3 it's a mechanical thing. Both are excellent. It's more precise in the Model 3 Performance because electric motors are just so incredibly responsive and torquey. So we're gonna take it for a drive. Again, both of them have all-wheel drive, so put into drive here. We're also going to change the suspension. So in dynamic dynamics here. We're in insane mode, and we're going to change ride and handling to sport. And then you can also go into track mode. So we're under Gjeebs, understeer. We'll go to neutral. Stability assist, we'll do minimal. And then powertrain standard. Regenerative braking, you can change regenerative braking all the way down to 0%. That's interesting. We're going to keep it up. And then post-drive cooling and save dash cams for clips. So as far as enthusiast stuff goes, there's a lot you can do drift presets. You can set up your own modes. It's really cool what you can customize in here. You can get way deeper in the weeds, surprisingly, in the Model 3 Performance as far as tuning the car to be exactly what you want it to be on track. So we're going to put it in drive. And then I say that, and then you don't even have a shifter to put it in gear. So insane, stiffened up. And I gotta say, it's a little different. I have it in track mode right now. It feels different than when I have it in just insane mode for the street. And tightening up the, jeez, it's mind-bendingly fast. And I'm curious, you know, when I hop in the S3 after this, and again, I know this has more power, but we're talking about the value that this brings. These essentially cost the same. And it's just kind of shocking the value, because again, this can drive itself. Like, it has full self-driving capability. It has nice cooled seats. It has a great sound system. And on top of all of that, it can do 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds with 510 all-wheel horsepower. And it handles incredibly well. Staggered wheels, forged wheels, track pads come stock from the factory. If you are taking it to track days, a lot of people have said that these brakes are not ready for that, and that's understandable. In fact, right there, I almost just went over the cliff. I'm kidding. Yeah, you're probably going to want to upgrade the brakes for longevity. These are probably good for, what, a few laps or something, but, I mean, for the road, they're totally fine. They're more than enough for the street. That's where I laugh when people are like, oh, the brakes need upgraded. I'm like, when are you going to the track? I need to upgrade the brakes so I can get to work on time. Man, this thing feels great. So this is really cool. It shows their component temperature, shows brakes, motor, battery temperature, tire pressure, all that type of stuff is here in track mode, which is right there. So that's really cool. Okay. Oh, you can even set a finish line. That's funny. So, you know, do you have the excitement of, brake pedal feels numb. Do you have the excitement? Wow, does this thing feel good in handling? Do you have, I can't even speak. Do you have the excitement of the exhaust, you know, and all of that, the exhaust and the transmission and the shifting? No, you don't. But what are you after ultimately? You gotta think, what are you after in the vehicle? Because if you want something that's a really raw, driver-focused experience, it's not the S3 anyways, and it's not the Model 3 anyways. It's more like a GR Corolla, a 911 GT3, I don't know, anything really. It's a Mazda Miata. I know people like to give the Miata crap, but it's one of the, probably the most fun car I've ever driven. You gotta understand what you're really after. As far as daily drivers that perform well, both of these are excellent. The Model 3 just happens to be an insane value with absurd power and futuristic software and technology in the vehicle that a lot of these companies are just behind on. What the Model 3 lacks is it's pretty standard. You know, there's not that much you can do in terms of customization with it. And if there's going to be other Model 3s out there, yours is going to look pretty similar to theirs, whereas the Audi S3, or even if you bump up to the RS3, that's a really unique vehicle. They're only making so many of them. And I think that that is a really good-looking car that will stand out and be more unique. It may not perform as well, but it will be a little bit more unique while having more fun. So the Model 3 is absurd, Model 3 performance, but let's jump into the S3 and just see how that feels coming out of something with about 200 more horsepower. All right, so for the S3, we're gonna put Drive Select on, go down to Dynamic. Now when you go to Dynamic, click Dynamic, and then Dynamic Plus pops up, and then it reduces stabilization, limited stability it says. But it also gives you launch control, which we will do. So, you gotta put the car in drive though. Ooh, the shifts are much more aggressive. Can hear the turbo kind of spooling. Already the body roll, you feel like you're sitting, there's a much more weight up high. Just put the turn signal on there. Wow, does this feel good. Oh my goodness, does that feel nice. Yeah, you see just a little, is this as fast? Obviously not. It's not even close, actually. Feels sluggish in comparison to the other car, but if you're driving this standalone, I will say the transmission's a little sloppy, it feels like. It's also very hot out, so we'll give it some grace. Brake feel is excellent, but what I really love, right there, you feel that diff. It can send up to 100% torque to either of the rear wheels. So whichever wheel has more grip, it's gonna send it there and pull you around the turn. It's really impressive. Brake feels really nice. Yeah, it's just, there's a lot more body roll in this thing. You feel it kind of struggling to hang in on the turns, whereas the Model 3 really just, no problem. It just digs right in. Yeah, the steering is way more loose. And I'm in Dynamic Plus, I'm in the most aggressive mode, but it's way more input for very little output. So that's interesting to feel. And that's probably an area where the RS3 is much better. Honestly, this steering wheel is not great. It's a little too big. It needs to be just a smaller diameter wheel. But man, brake feel is... I just feel like you're always kind of waiting for maximum power to hit. That's really the only thing I've could complain about, I guess. We'll do a quick launch control. Get it all turned around here and we'll launch it and see how she does. It's just funny, the shifters is this little press forward thing. Backup cam's decent. You won't go over any cliffs. That's good. All right, so launch control's very easy. We'll come to a stop here. So, foot on the brake. And there's launch control. And I love how simple it is. I'm pretty sure you have to be in Dynamic Plus to activate it, but it does have launch control and it's very simple to activate. You're not playing any games. So yeah, very fun. In comparison, what it lacks is the precise and just immediate brutal power that the Model 3 has. The brake feels very good, and it has a little bit more body roll. You're just kind of fighting physics, and the steering is a little looser than I would like it to feel. But keep in mind, there's the RS model that's above this, and that is the highest end Model 3. So yeah, and this is also potentially for, I think actually the clientele for both of these vehicles is a very similar person. But like I said earlier in the video, you don't have to charge this. You do have to deal with expensive maintenance, but it gets more range, it's easier to road trip, all those things. The trade-off though is that has full self-driving, and autopilot is a standard feature for lane keep assist and all of that. So which one is better? The Model 3 is certainly the better value. This is the more luxurious vehicle. And the other thing I think that would happen to both of these buyers buying either of these vehicles is they're going to be switching cars fairly often. So I don't know. I think you're really not going to be mad with either of these. The performance bargain is absolutely the Model 3. That's not even close, and it gets the over-the-air updates, so any upgrades that happen to the car via the Tesla engineers, the software engineers, are going to be sent to your car. This, you're stuck with what it is. It's a great driver's car. It's very fun, but for $60,000, I'd be looking to the RS3. This is very expensive unless you can find one that's a good deal or, under 50. But for this much, and you're getting 200 horsepower less than that. I don't know. I don't know that the luxury features in this offset the lack of those luxury features in the Model 3. I just don't know if that's the case. So two compact sports sedans that in their own right are extremely fun. And even now at this point, both of these have a fairly good cult following. So which is the better buy? Well, the Model 3 Performance just gives us more value for our money. The trade-off is you have to worry about charging if you're going to be doing road trips with it. Now, the Tesla charging network is excellent, but you're basically looking at 20 to 30 minutes stopping every 2 to 3.5 hours to get it charged up. This is still an efficient vehicle. It's the entry-level luxury sport compact. I really enjoy it. It has the mechanical rear diff. It has the power bump that the Golf R has, but it's still kind of numb. And in comparison to this, when you feel the speed, it's silly how much faster the Model 3 performance is. But like I said, you can get a little bit more customization. This has some cooler colors, some changes on the interior, but it lacks basic things like cooled seats that an entry-level Model 3 Performance has. Now what's crazy is lining up the Model 3 Performance against a Porsche Taycan Turbo Cross Turismo, and that's what I've done in this video right here. So check that out and make sure you're subscribed, because we're going to be doing more comparisons like this very soon.